Hi there, this is Live Prepper here. Now, I was checking out one of my companions, and it's Peaceful Prepper, and he does his point of views and things. And I was listening to one of them called Prepper Confusion, and I agree with him on a lot of this thing. That's what I try to talk to people about. And when I was talking to my son on the phone and things like that, when I talk to online with him about it, we get confused. And the thing is that like he said, we sometimes forget what it is. Sometimes it's like a calling. It's like whatever reason, there's just something we feel, and it's just different for us who whatever time in their life started prepping. There's people that's just maybe started. Maybe there's people who've been prepping for years, but in the confusion of it, a lot of people who does prep tend to lose their way, and they become so absorbed in all this stuff, and forget where they're at. And then they also, a lot of them becomes kind of closed in, and they think, well, this is what you're supposed to do. And if you're not doing this, then you're not prepping right. Well, the thing is, there's all different types of preppers. And another thing that Peaceful Prepper made a good point is that you might be the one that was just meant to get to point A to point B with a bug out situation. Maybe you was in a town or whatever. Maybe your abilities and your talents is what a group needed. Maybe that's what it is. You might show up with this group, and the knowledge you have might be just what that group needed to make it. So you may not be all this high tech little stuff. You may not know nothing about all these different weapons. You may not know any of this stuff. You may be just basic down to earth like I am, learning about my herbs and my plants and how to make things, because I'm always posting videos on how to make this. Like right now, there's one on how to make your own dry shampoo. And I check these videos out, and these preppers talk about, oh, I want this and this, and they forget. They forget a lot of times why did they start to prep begin with, and it becomes a confusion in it. And then you get out there in the real world, as they want to put it, the world we have to go to work, we have to pay our bills, and like Peaceful Prepper said, we are slaves to work. You're sitting there at work, whatever it is, and your mind's sitting there thinking, okay, I've got to do this, I got to do that, da 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 da, all that, and then you forget. You forget a lot of times where you really are in life. It isn't about how much money you spend. It isn't about whether this prepper is better than that prepper. It's about a combination of things. We need all different types of preppers from all different levels in order to make it. So, like I said, let's say it does happen, SHTF happens, and I run across Peaceful Prepper in some of his groups. Well, my knowledge of things that I have learned, my personality or whatever, could be a great benefit to his group. So that's just it right there. We have to think along that line. We get confused. There is all these sites wanting you to buy this and buy that, like I said. And then you've got these other groups on there saying, well, we don't want you in a group unless you can do this and this and this and this. And that's fine. But the thing is, you forget where you're at. We get confused. Prepper confusion is what it's all about. Like you said, prepper confusion happens. And thing is, like I said, I'm always recycling something. I'm always making something. I'm always figuring out something. But at the same time, I have to accept the real world around me as well. I'm not saying that prepping is not part of the real world, because it is. Having food in my house, having water, having the basic needs is something I have to think about every day to make sure I survive. So learning and reading and studying is part of my life, because I don't know what one day to the next is going to have. But also, preppers get confused. I think preppers sometimes forget where they're at. Just like Peaceful Prepper said, they forget where they're at a lot of times because they get so wrapped up in this stuff. And then you get in some of these groups, and they're like, this is it. You've got to do this, or we're not going to have it, or whatever. The point is, all different types of preppers benefit each other, all different levels. My knowledge would benefit somebody else. Their knowledge would benefit me. All different levels of prepping. We have prepper confusion going on. That's what happens is preppers get so confused. We forget for some whatever reason there is something. Now, whether it's a spiritual calling, as Peaceful Prepper talks about, because he was talking about during one of his meditations and things. Whether whatever reason we was called to prep is how he feels that there was a calling for it, and that might is very distinct possible because, like I said, I've seen them say all at once they was watching something on TV, it changed their life. Something happened in their life, it changed their lives. It made them think more about what they need to do. Prepper confusion happens every day because we get so wrapped up that we forget where we are at. We forget why we started prepping to begin with. We went from this basic, simple thing thinking, okay, we need this food to survive on, we need water to survive on, we need this to survive on. Then next thing you know, we're starting to read, we're researching everything, we're seeing all this stuff. And you've got these companies out here that's pushing these products out there, encouraging you to buy these things. So next thing you know, you're buying these things. Then the next thing you know, you're buying something else, and you get lost along the way. Where are you at? So then it's called prepper confusion. So I agree with Peaceful Prepper on this, that it doesn't matter what level of prepper you are at, prepping at all. It does not matter if you're mechanically inclined or not. I think we can all benefit each other in our own way, to a group, even to an individual. Companionship is something people need. And to survive, really, you need other people to help survive. Surviving alone is not easy. It's just not. I'm a mature person. I have certain limits now. I'm not 20 years old anymore. I cannot run 500 miles an hour to get away from something else. I have to use my brain. I have to use what I can do to survive and make do every day. So if down the road, say SHTF does happen, and as I talked about it, I will eventually have to bug out. In the bug out situation, if I can come across a group that I can work with, I would stand a better chance of surviving than by myself. But in prepper confusion, we all seem to sometimes forget where we're at. We get out there, we get working, we get doing all this stuff, we go to the stores, we get doing all this. We forget why we started prepping to begin with. I know why I started. I've been wanting to do it for years because I knew something kept nagging at me. Something kept telling me here and telling me here. Something ain't right. I need to sit here and do something. I want to start over. I want to go somewhere else. Leaving Tennessee was not an easy choice for me. Making a choice to go somewhere else to live, to start over from ground up. And my basic preference started with just water. That was my step one. Then my next step was my food. But I do not try to lose my focus. I try to think, what can I do to improve my situation? How can I make myself survive better? And the thing is, too, I also think I need to prep for myself, but I want to prep 1+ or 2+. The thing is, you don't know what's going to happen. And in a situation, if it does happen, people's going to be knocking at your door. Maybe some of your family members shows up or whatever. You feel bad about it. You're going to bring them in there, but you only prepped enough for one person. Make sure you prep enough for 2 people or another person. Always prep that little bit more. But the thing is, we get lost in our prepper confusion. I've seen some of the preppers showing, oh, I've got this amount of water. One of the preppers on Doomsday Prepper had a bed built on top of 55-gallon drums of water, built on top of it. Now, I guess they had to have a step ladder or something to get up there. I seen one of the preppers on Doomsday here had took her door and was hiding things in the door and then put a panel over it. She was climbing, hiding things up in the attic. Every time her husband would go out for a walk with her dog, she was hiding stuff all around the house. And that's fine and dandy. But the thing is, she became, it's a confusion. We forget where we're at sometimes. That we get carried away. So I agree with Peaceful Prepper on it. In our prepper confusion, we forget that we need each other. Now, I'm not saying I'm going to trust anybody, because I'm just flat out not going to anytime soon, because you don't know what's going to happen when you go out there. You have to kind of be cautious and think about it. And I talk to people all the time, and I've got friends and family members that has not even thought about prepping anything. They don't have any extra water, any extra, and they're going to show up on the doorstep and expect me to take care of them. They're going to say, "Hey, feed me, take care of me," and then I'm going to have that choice right there. Am I going to be able to do it? Prepper confusion happens because we begin to forget why we started prepping to begin with. Whatever it is, something called to us and told us we need to do something. Whatever reason it is, we felt we needed to do something to be prepared. For me, it's seeing what's happening around us all the time. We've lost so much. We've gotten so involved. The cell phones, the computers, and I love my computer, and I love my cell phones, and I love the fact is it's so much easier. We've gotten so used to all this, having air conditioning, having this and that, but tomorrow we might not have it. And most people don't even think about that. Prepper confusion happens, and I agree with Peaceful Prepper. We forget where we're at, and we forget that it isn't just one type of prepper. There's all preppers that can make a difference. If it's in a community situation, I'm not hooked up with any community. Matter of fact, I've met a few preppers in this area where I'm at. We're all approaching it from different areas. The thing is it's a major trust and what you got to do. We just got to get back to what we started. We got to remember why we began to begin with, and quit letting all this other stuff keep overwhelming us, and quit getting lost in prepper confusion. Because somewhere along the line, we've lost some of the thoughts why we've started it. Me, I want to survive. I do want to help other people. And by helping them, it's showing them what to live off the land on and eat. It might not be what they want, but I want to tell you what. Eating dandelions, it's got food. That's food. Eating wild violets is food. Learning how to catch fish is food. Making do and surviving is a step. So I agree with Peaceful Prepper on many things. Prepper confusion is happening to all of us. We tend to forget where we're at sometimes. So this is Life Prepper here. Let's quit doing the prepper confusion. It don't matter what level we're at or why we're prepping. When it comes down to it, it's all basically the same. We're wanting to survive. Let's get back to that and quit getting so confused and lost in why we started beginning with anyway. So this is Life Prepper here. Be safe, be happy. Bless you all.